Hi there. So today I'm going to talk about a really cheerful topic. It's called death. And what I want to say about death is that we're all taught to fear it. We're all taught to think that that is the end of life and that that's the end of us. What we know from very, very many spiritual practices is that the soul or the mind is eternal and the body, the physical body, is finite. And one of the important things to do is to start to make distinctions about what that means to you. Because we are motivated on a biological level by fear of death. And that fear, and a couple of other fears, drive us to make very bad decisions because we're reactive, which means that we don't take time to assess the circumstances around us. And as a coach for 25 years, I would say half the work I've done is help people get a clear sense of what's really going on in their lives and finding out what the deep fears are. So you fear loneliness, you fear poverty, you fear sickness, but fear is based on, it should be based on the biology of your body telling you that you are in danger. What we're dealing with is fear that is artificially induced by society to get us to do things that we don't want to do, for the most part. And I think one of the important things that the Word of the Day does as a spiritual practice is it mimics, there's an old yogic practice that's about 6,000 or 7,000 years old, and it's called neti neti. And it means not this, not this. So instead of sitting there and doing affirmations or trying to empty your brain or one of these other devices, which are very useful, but obviously if they worked, people would use them and then move on, right? Neti neti is a practice in which all day long, each time you think something, you think about that thought and you go, this or not this. Neti neti means not this, not this. And using this practice as part of the Word of the Day, because I'm a modern person, and not this is too vague. I like to get up in the morning and I'll say to myself, what's going on with me? And it usually has something to do with my having to do something I don't want to do, or something that someone has suggested that I do, or that real evil demon, self-esteem, my reputation with myself, is telling me something that I should do. Right? And if I don't do it, there are consequences, and that's what generates false fear. So an alternative is to use the Word of the Day to set you free, because when you wake up in the morning and you allow yourself to have a word come through, that is your creative unconscious trying to explain to you in a very imagistic, creative form what's going on with you. And that part of you, I can tell you from firsthand experience, is the part of you that lives on way past your body. So I'll tell you an experience I had to prove it. When I was about 16, I was painting up at a painting commune, and people were doing a lot of drugs back then. This is the olden days, and I took a lot of them. And then everybody around me went swimming in this big waterfall, and there had been a toxic waste dump, and everybody got sick. It was about 25 people. But I got sicker, and I was about 16. I was on my own, and I got sicker and sicker and sicker, and one day I woke up staying at friends' houses, and I thought, if I don't go to the doctor, I'm going to die. That's how sick I was. So I managed to get a friend to drive me to the doctor. And the doctor, of course, said, sorry, you don't have an appointment. And I remember saying, I'm dying. I'm going to go sit outside on your stoop, and if I die, I don't think it'll be very good for your reputation. So I went out and I sat on the stoop, and I remember it was a beautiful summer day. It was hot, about 4 o'clock, that beautiful upstate New York sunlight, and I was sitting on a slate stairway, which was nice and warm. And I remember saying to myself, okay, Marilyn, you're going to die. That's okay. It's a nice way to go. And I died. And the next thing I knew, I woke up and I was swimming in this underground cavern. It was dark and beautiful, and people were calling to me down the way, going, Marilyn, Marilyn, come join us. And one of the reasons I knew that I was still me, even though I was dead, was because I cracked a joke. And the joke was, oh great, there are no relatives there, I'm going. So I turned towards them and started to swim. And I felt, even though I knew that I was dead, I felt the water on my non-body and whatever. And the next thing I knew, I was jerked rudely back and found myself in a hospital bed in the emergency ward in a nearby hospital with 2 IVs in my arms next to a person who was literally dying of 4th degree lung cancer. So I was very lucky because after that, I was able to distinguish my fears of lots of things from my fear of death. Because I had the first-hand experience of knowing that when my body went, this part of me that's talking to you was still there. I would always be there. So consider how you are being controlled by fear. Consider that it would be nice if you were in control of yourself. Consider that every time you give in to fear, that true identity of yours is not happy, and that's why you don't feel good. And see if you'd like to think about this a little further for yourself. And if you're enjoying the conversation, please join me. See the links below.